Hello, my name is Christine and I run a vintage shop called Prima Treasures on Etsy. Today, I'm bringing you some items that I think are pretty unusual and, to my mind, a little underappreciated. So I kind of wanted to shine a light on them as a way to encourage people to consider this particular company. All of these items that you see on the table were made by Jeannette Glass. And back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, there were a number of different glass makers. I guess I should be more specific and say drinkware makers. And, I've profiled one or two of them. Culver, Fred Press, Georges Briard, all of these makers, designers really, were making very interesting, colorful drinkware designs. And going through old catalogs, personally, I noticed that to a certain extent, kind of riffing on each other, stealing concepts and doing it, kind of redoing it in their own way, and sometimes with not a whole lot of variation. So, it's not unusual to see a particular design idea, say old coin, with 2 or 3 versions made by different companies. So the reason I wanted to talk about Jeannette is because, at least when it comes to this particular design, I think they were the only company who really did it. And the distinctive characteristics I wanted to point out are, for the most part, the designs I see are in green or blue. And they have what older folks would probably consider a Wedgwood design, because Wedgwood pottery looks very much like this. Not all of it, the Jasperware stuff. But to my mind, since I didn't grow up with Wedgwood, also you could call it kind of a cameo look. So essentially what you typically see is you've got either a blue or green background, and you've got the white design over top of it. This one is interesting because it's actually kind of the reverse of that. But you can see that they all kind of have a similar styling to them, with the blue and the white, or the green and the white. And they have the gold trim. Mostly what I see, as I said, is barware and drinkware. I don't often see the companion pieces. This is a little like dessert bowl. I actually had some ashtrays in this design as well. Those are not as common. Probably 90% of what you'll see is going to be drinking glasses of different sizes and shapes. But the reason I wanted to talk about them is because I think they actually are interesting and unique in their own way, because if you look closely, and I'm going to hold a few of these up so you can see what we have here in the design. I know that, the overall look is kind of a cameo look, but you can see this has like a Grecian motif to it. You've got ladies here in togas. You've got a woman sitting on a pedestal. You've got an actual, some architectural elements in the design. So, this is not the kind of thing we expect to see on barware. So it's a motif that's unusual, and that I think for people who are into that kind of neoclassical Grecian look, I mean, having barware that kind of feeds into that interest would be pretty interesting and unique compared to other types of interests you might have. And then I have another one here that basically has, a swordsman on a horse, and he's fighting what I hope is a lion. And so it's got almost, you can see here, there's a little building that's Middle Eastern. I believe this pattern is called Arabian Nights. You have another horse rider with a pike. So, again, you've got a theme that you don't generally see in dishware or barware. And I'm going to hold this one up too, even though the design on it is very similar to the first one. You've got, a guy in a toga riding a chariot. He's got horses here. That doesn't have the different designs like the other one does. All of the the little pictures are basically the same thing as opposed to the other one, which had some, you know, variations in the little pictures. But still, you can see the Greek key here. So once again, they're going for kind of that neoclassical look. And I think that there's other patterns as well that might have other motifs. But like I said, the thing that I think is interesting about this Jeannette Cameo design that they did is the fact that the motifs they put into the glassware are the kind of thing that you're really just not going to see anywhere else. So for that reason, I wanted to feature them. I think they are unusual in that they're catering to nowadays what we would call kind of a fantasy vibe. So if you know people who are into that, or you're into that, you know, I think this is definitely some very unique glassware that you could have, you know, for parties, buddies coming over drinking, whatever, you know, but it's unusual. And as I said in the beginning, I think it's kind of underappreciated. I don't think a lot of people know about it. And for that reason, I would like to encourage anyone who has an interest in this kind of look. You know, if you see this and it's very distinctive, you know, as I said, I don't think anybody else was doing this cameo styling in glassware. So if you spot something that looks like any of these, extremely likely that you're dealing with Jeannette. And also, the prices on them are probably going to be quite low because, as I said, I think they're underappreciated. So anyway, I hope that I've given you enough information to understand more about the Jeannette company and why we might be interested in them. And I very much appreciate you watching, and happy holidays.